Strawberries are such gems on their own, but you can take them to the next level by adding a little heat. Today we're doing sauteed strawberries two ways, sweet and savory. For our savory dish, it's pan-roasted pork tenderloin, and for our dessert, we're doing angel food cake with ricotta. So before we even begin, the first thing we want to do is wash our strawberries. The best way to go about it is to just fill a bowl with some water and put your strawberries inside. What's gonna happen here is that all of the dirt and the sand and anything stuck on the strawberries will just fall to the bottom. When you purchase strawberries, you really wanna use them within a day or two since they tend to spoil quickly. But if you do have to keep them for a while, go ahead and just pick out any bruised berries, toss them, and then store them in the refrigerator. After your strawberries have been sitting for a little while, just remove them and let them drain on a towel. If you're not going to be cooking them for a couple of hours, it's okay to just leave them out at room temperature. That's when their flavor is the most distinct, since the refrigerator and the cold can actually, again, temper their sweet flavor. Today, we're not eating them fresh, we're sauteing them. And whenever you add heat to a fruit, what you're doing is bringing out the sweet flavors. Once the strawberries have drained, the next thing we want to do is hull them. Just grab your fruit and a sharp paring knife, and you just go in there at a diagonal, and the middle pops out, just like that. Our strawberries are ready, so let's go ahead and saute them. First, we'll get our pan warmed up on low heat and add our strawberries right to the pan. Let's add a few teaspoons of sugar. That'll help us extract all of those juices. And for a little bit of tang and extra sweetness, balsamic vinegar. We'll just get them mixed up, make sure every strawberry is coated with that mixture. And once it heats up, you really just want to leave it alone and let it saute for, about 10 to 15 minutes, or until all those juices get released. The strawberries break down and it turns into a kind of sauce. So all of the strawberries have released their juices, they've melted with the sugar and the balsamic vinegar, and they're ready to cool down before we serve them with our two dishes. Let's prepare our pork tenderloin. So the first thing you want to do is remove any obvious fat and the silver skin. And the silver skin is this connective tissue, and if you don't remove it, it's going to give you a really rubbery texture. Take a sharp knife and go ahead and remove that. Just drag your knife along, and it'll come right off. Now, for this dish, we're gonna keep it really simple. We're just gonna do a quick dry rub. I'm just drying it off so that we get rid of as much moisture as possible. Strawberries are actually a part of the rose family, so they pair really well with herbs, especially rosemary. Our rosemary is ready, and now all that's left to do is to season the tenderloin. So we'll just go ahead and apply rosemary, salt, and pepper to each side. And before we go to the stove to sear the tenderloin, I'm just gonna slice a couple of shallots, and that's gonna be the topping for our pork tenderloin just before we add that strawberry sauce. So we'll just put a couple tablespoons of olive oil in the pan and set it to medium-high heat. And you know the pan is hot and ready when the oil begins to shimmer. We'll just grab our tenderloin, and it should sizzle. Nice. So we'll let it cook until each side is browned before sticking it in the oven. So I've set the oven to 400 degrees, and we're gonna let this roast for about 10 minutes or until the internal temperature is 145 degrees. Oh yeah. We've got a nice brown crust. The rosemary smells amazing. So let's just check. The internal temperature should be about 140 to 145 degrees. That's perfect. And as it rests, it'll cook a little bit more. So let's just transfer it to a plate where it can relax a little bit. while we take care of what's left here. This is like a gold mine of flavor. So all you want to do is just harness all of those little browned bits, and we'll do that this time by adding some shallots. And we'll saute the shallots in the fat that's left in the pan until they're crispy, and they'll make for a great topping for our tenderloin. Our shallots are crispy, our tenderloin is resting, and now let's go ahead and plate this dish. I like to slice tenderloin into 3/4 of an inch medallions. It's perfectly cooked. The outside has a nice crust to it, but the inside is still really juicy. Now we'll top it with our crispy shallots along with any juices. And finally, the star of our dish, our strawberries. So now that they've cooled, the sauce has thickened up a little bit, and they're ready to be served with our tenderloin. So that's our savory dish. Now let me show you how to use these strawberries for dessert. The dessert is really simple. All it takes is a few ingredients and those delicious strawberries we've already prepared. So we'll take about 1/2 cup of ricotta. And ricotta is great in desserts because it has a natural sweetness to it. But to really elevate that flavor, we'll add a couple tablespoons of powdered sugar, and to brighten it, some lemon zest. So just take a generous piece of that angel food cake and top it with some of that lemony ricotta. And finally, we'll hit it with our strawberries. So here we have a sweet and savory dish that showed just how versatile strawberries can be. Now all that's left to do is eat.